the live stuff.
And we are going to go live.
Okay.
So, Charles, you can kick us off.
Oh, great. Hi, everyone. This is my name is Charles Gerino. We're going to get started in about a minute or two. Give people a chance to come in, but we'll slowly get things rolling. As you're coming into the chat, or as you're coming into the webinar, if you wouldn't mind dropping into the chat where you're coming from, because we're really interested in hearing about that, because we know that this event is being advertised broadly, and so we'd like to see what the where you're speaking from. So I'm the chapter liaison for the Electric Auto Association, as well as the leader of the EAA chapter in Richmond, Virginia. So I'm just going to wait just another minute, and then I'll give the official introduction. Hopefully we'll have a good, we've done lots of these webinars during the week. I've participated in, I've been a participant, I've been on a panel, and it's just been a very exciting week. And I think this is one of the advantages of the, if there's any advantage to this whole pandemic thing, it's being able to participate in so many events and talk to so many people from around the country that are in the electric vehicle space. Because I have my little bubble in Richmond and then in Virginia, but be able to talk to people, and I've talked to people in Dallas, California, Chicago, so it's been very exciting. So I see some more people have come in. I think it's about a minute or two after, so I'm going to go ahead and get started and welcome everyone to this webinar for National Drive Electric Week. It's Killer EVs of 2021. So this has certainly been an exciting time for the electric vehicle market. You know, there are at least 20 battery electric vehicles for sale today, plus an additional 30 plug-in hybrids. Most are sedans, but more of them are crossovers and compact SUVs, and a wider variety of vehicles are on their way to the market. And that's what we're going to be talking about today with today's speaker. Alex Guberman is a creator and host of E for Electric YouTube channel. It's dedicated to electric car news, reviews, and industry interviews. He's also a brand ambassador for the LA Auto Show. You can also check him out on TikTok, where apparently he's the only person talking about EVs there. So, unless somebody disputes that, I think you can hold that title. Before we get started, I wanted to let everyone know that everyone will be on mute because we will have a fair number of participants. But certainly feel free to use the chat function to share your thoughts, especially links that you might have to interesting material online. Please submit your questions using the Q&A function, and Alex will be fielding them as we go along. So this is a very informal conversation that we'll be having. And we will be recording this session and sharing it in the future. So if you miss any tidbits, you can watch it later. So with that, I'll turn things over to Alex.
Actually, Alex, Charles, if I can also add in that this is one of the sessions that the Electric Auto Association is sponsoring as part of National Drive Electric Week. So there's about 100 other sessions going on this week. We're only halfway through the week. There's a ton left for the remainder of the week through Sunday. I'll put in the chat box a link to where you can find out about all these different sessions. Many of you that have signed in today may already know about them, but check out for what's happening for the remainder of the week. So carry on.
All right. Hey guys, how are you? Welcome to the session Killer EVs of 2021. I mean, 2021 is going to be the year that I thought 2018 was, where all of these amazing EVs are actually coming to market. They are good. They got long range. They look great. And there's all kinds of pricing. We're going to talk about cars that will go as low as $10,000 and as high as $250,000. So I'm really excited about it. Just in case if you don't know, you're not familiar with me, I am Alex Guberman. I'm a host of E4 Electric. It's a YouTube channel where I do electric car news. And as Charles mentioned, I am also a bit popular on TikTok. My hopes are it's not because people don't want to watch me for more than 15 seconds. It's because kids love electric cars. That's my thing that I'm going with for now. Obviously, I'm a little bummed that we don't get to do this in person like we do every year, where we get to hang out and have good food and also check out each other's electric cars. On the other hand, we get to see a lot of people from other states and cities, and obviously you don't have to wear pants for this one. So, give or take. Now, if you haven't already, please let me know where you're watching us from, which city. We already got, Arizona, Massachusetts, Sacramento, where I'm at, Oregon, Bay Area, Virginia, and so forth. Let me know where you're watching me from. So as I go through these cars, it's going to be in alphabetical order. There are quite a few of them. So I probably will have about a minute or two on each. If you have a question, please drop it in the Q&A queue if you can. But I'm going to try to scan both. We got DC, we got Patrick from Denver, Colorado. Welcome to all of you guys. Now, there are two things that I will, the two stats that I will be talking about when I'm talking about each car. One of them is going to be the range, and another one's going to be price. Everything else is really almost a moot point. For example, the max charging rate, it's a moot point because I think you as consumers really care about how fast these cars charge from 0 to 80%, and we don't know that yet. Even with the rating, let's take it with a grain of salt. So because, a lot of these manufacturers are estimating more than they can actually pool with EPA. And then, as you know, EPA is about 20 or 30% actually more optimistic than what you're actually going to get out of your car, and even more optimistic if you're somewhere in a cold climate like Michigan, Canada, and so forth. And I know we have a few people watching from the cold climate. So take it with a grain of salt. It changes a lot of times right before they unveil or go in production. But at least this way, we can at least know what they're targeting. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's talk about, and there will be a couple of cars here that are already on the market and very limited production numbers. So even though they're just came on the market, I'm still kind of pushing them as mass production for 2021. In alphabetical order, let's start with Audi e-tron GT. Now, I got to actually check this car out pretty much the same week when it was unveiled at the LA Auto Show. And I got to tell you, so this is going to be based on a Taycan, a Porsche Taycan. So obviously the price we should expect is going to be over 100,000, definitely to start with. It is a beautiful, beautiful car. I think people fell in love with it pretty much right away. 220 miles, probably what's the estimated EPA range is going to be, just simply based on what they were able to do with the e-tron, the SUV, and the e-tron the Sportback. And it is coming next year, and a lot of people are very much anticipating. But there's another Audi that's coming to market also next. There will be two Audis sort of premiered at the same time. There are a few brands doing that. And that is a very much highly anticipated Audi Q4 e-tron. And this is a Sportback. They usually have a regular and a Sportback, which Sportback means basically a sexier version of that car, right? Soccer mom versus a bachelor type of a version. So this one will have 280 miles of range. It will start at $45,000. And I got to tell you, all the pricing I'm mentioning, it is before the incentives, right? So obviously in the US, you get about $7,500 of the tax credit as long as you pay that much in taxes. Each state has their own incentives. A lot of times it's based on actually how much money you're making. I think New Jersey has the highest at $5,000, and you also get some incentives from your utility company. Usually it's a cost of the charger, so like $500 or $600. So this one is hitting dealerships also in about a year, and obviously this is going to be another great competitor to the Model Y. In a very, very popular small SUV crossover segment. Let's move on to BMW. And BMW has been quite quiet since they came up with an i3. They haven't done much. There's an iX3 that's being produced right now and sold around the world, except for United States. That's why I am skipping that one. But I'm not skipping the BMW i4. And this has also been quite anticipated car because their concept looked really, really awesome. 270 miles, and it will start at $50,000. Like this might just be a really, really good deal for a BMW. And BMW is one of the manufacturers that are going to be putting two all-electric cars on the market. Next one is going to be a little bit more pricey. but this concept car always looked great. So I checked this one in person out myself when they did like a world tour. And besides the monkey butt front, as I call it, it is a beautiful SUV. Now, this is actually a camouflaged version that they're testing right now. So we don't even know what it's going to look like, but they're promising 360 miles of range, and it will start at $80,000. So, all right, BMW, catch up. It's definitely going to be heating up. Gary in the chat room says the Audi sedan looks terrific inside and out. Yeah, I can confirm that because I mean I drove it for a while. Couldn't drive fast, as you can see. We had a police escort, and it was in Los Angeles, but it was fun to drive. All right, now let's go to this baby right here, and this they're going to be making two of them, B1 and B2. One is the SUV, and another one is a pickup truck, but essentially it's the same car. You know, it's just the back is modified. This is a very interesting old school type of a car. It's going to be all electric, as you can see all of their videos in black and white, which I think is pretty cool. They will start at 100. I think there's only one price for them, $125,000, 200-mile range. Obviously, this is for a very sort of a specific audience of people who have money, but still kind of like to have this kind of a 1960s type of a look in and out. A lot of it is their founder and the CEO, Robert Bollinger, who is just one of the nicest guys. If you ever seen him speak, if you haven't, then check out his unveiling of these cars. Like, he is just an amazing guy, and I think a lot of people will just attracted to him and his team. And that's why I think this car will sell, but obviously in limited numbers. All right, let's get to another car, which is probably, I would say, one of the most anticipated cars of the year, and I think it will be one of the best sellers at the end of the day. The first edition has been sold out a long time ago. I'm talking about the Ford Mustang Mach-E. This is where Ford decided to go all out. Kudos to them. They had a huge unveiling. I mean, actually, I've never been hosted as a media person for such a long time. I think it was like 6 days. It was part of the LA Auto Show, but they really, really wanted to make sure that we understand that they're really behind this. There will be so many different models and trims and so forth. The highest range they'll have will be 300 miles. The lowest price that they're going to be starting at will be $44,000. They just dropped it by about $1,000, just kind of compete with the rest of the crowd, because there will be this market is going to be crowded as far as electric cars are concerned. But kudos to them. And like I said, at the unveiling, we got to check these babies out in person. I got to ride in one. I would say that the performance is not exactly what I would expect from a Mustang, but at the same time, it looks amazing in person, and their user interface is sort of everything I ever wanted from the Tesla's interface. Their interface is really, really amazing, and they have this knob, actually, physical knob that's attached to attached to the flat screen. If you haven't made a reservation, I mean, most of these cars you can make reservations, so it's and Patrick in the chat room says I have an order in for a first edition. Can't wait. I don't know if you're talking about Bollinger or Mach-E, but I have a few reservations myself. Doesn't mean I'm actually gonna, buy these cars, but it's good to have, right? And I will tell you, the very last car I'm gonna talk about is actually, I made a reservation specifically because of their first edition. All right, so the next one, there is no pictures of this car. And as you can see, this is a Hummer. This is an all-electric Hummer, which I think is epic. For General Motors to convert the, sort of the symbol of gas guzzlers and environmental killing machine, essentially, to an all-electric car, it's great. It's sort of a pivotal point, I feel, in not just GM's history, but just like cars history. This car will have a 400-mile range, and it will start at $70,000. Now, I have seen this car in person. Unfortunately, they only let us do it without running cameras or pictures. People think it's going to look very futuristic, but honestly, it's to me it kind of looked like and just a newer version of a Hummer. Now, they do have this really cool thing that they just recently advertised. They're calling it a crab mode. So this is where all four wheels can actually turn. So if you're really bad at parallel parking, this is definitely for you. And they can all turn and kind of can go sideways as a crab. I think it's a pretty cool feature. But again, you know, just to describe it to you, think of the last Hummer that you know, and it's just a little bit more slick. So don't expect anything radical, but it's definitely awesome that they have this going. The next one, we don't even have a concept there. But so I'm going to run a footage of their current version, which is a Jaguar XJ. And they're promising that by the end of the next year, they'll have a Jaguar XJ all-electric version. It will go 300 miles on one charge, and it will start at $90,000. Now, if I had to question someone in terms of actually delivering it by the end of the year, that would be Jaguar. I have to say that they will get this done because they've been working on it. There's been spy shots of the prototype of this car, but I don't know if they can actually make it by the end of the year. So, but if they can, obviously a large all-electric sedan from a legacy manufacturer, a luxury car, certainly will be welcomed. Now, let me get to the cars that you guys might have never heard of, actually. But full disclosure, this company, Candy America, they're actually one of the sponsors of my channel. But these are going to be the cheapest electric cars on the market, especially after the federal tax incentive. And so this one is called Candy, K-A-N-D-I, right there. And it's K27. Now, after all of the incentives and discounts, it's going to be under $10,000, but also it will only go 59 miles. That's the EPA range. And the top speed is going to be only 63 miles an hour. So if you're a Prius driver, this may be okay. But generally speaking, this is obviously more of a kind of a neighborhood car rather than anything. And but you know, it will definitely suit enough people. And a car like this is also something that you may want to get for your teenager kid who wants to have a car, but you don't want them to go all the way to Los Angeles. And this way they can, because there's no DC fast charging, and this car can only go, what, 60 miles or so. So, you know, they can't get away that far. So this, and they can go at 90 miles an hour either. So this is, you know, some of the shortcomings of this car can actually be a benefit. So now they also have another one coming to the market that looks completely different. And this is a K23. This one will go about 111 miles on one charge. The starting price here is $27,500. So obviously they're trying to tuck it under $20,000 after the incentives. And it reminds me of Prius. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's not the chick magnet, but I mean, it's got a lot of stuff inside there that you would expect from a regular car. So kudos to them. Let's move on to a bit of a controversial a car, which is Lordstown Motors, and this is Endurance, their all-electric truck. They're expecting it to start making them in a former GM factory that was sold to them by GM under pressure from the Trump administration, and that's why they're unveiling. Was also Mike Pence, a bit of a kind of a political rally, and as you can see, Trump. This was taken a few days ago. Trump has kind of endorsed it at the White House, but at the end of the day, this is yet another all-electric pickup truck. They are targeting, you know, industrial fleets, though I think individual would love to have it as well. 250 miles of estimated EPA range, $52,500 is the price. So obviously they targeting $45,000 after the incentives for this truck, which is not bad at all. So, you know, this truck is definitely politicized because of the GM thing with the Trump administration, but hopefully at the end of the day, they can actually deliver. You know, Steve, the CEO of this, was on my show a few times. He was originally the CEO of the Workhorse, a publicly traded company. So it's, hopefully they can get it to the production. Obviously we can use another all-electric truck. Now this car, guys, I mean, if you haven't reserved an electric car yet, this one is for you. So please get out your credit cards and reserve this one. I am talking about the Lotus Evija, which is going to be a hypercar. It's over 2,000 horsepower. It's going to start, you know, just for those poor of you who can't afford a all of the options will start at $2.3 million. It is definitely a great looking car. It is, and it's great to see the legacy sports car, exotic cars makers are finally committing to all electric drivetrain. Obviously, there is Pininfarina, there is Remots, but this is one of the first that are coming from a legacy manufacturer. Now, I do have to say that this is a bit ironic. So I wish we could cue up Alanis Morissette's song right here, because originally, if you guys remember, the very first car from Tesla was a Roadster, which essentially had Tesla technology inside of the Lotus Elise shell. So Lotus, you know, almost a decade later, after providing the body of the very first Tesla, has finally figured out how to do it on their own. So I find irony in it, but I think that's good irony. Gary in the chat room says Mustang will be huge, big selling points and interior technology, for reputation, a large existing sales and slash service network. Absolutely agree. This is where the specs that they can't compete with Tesla on, these are all the things that they will be able to probably even do better. The name, Sybil's asking the name of the EV truck. I missed it. So if you're talking about the Lordstown Motors, the truck is called Endurance. That's the only car they're going to be making. So so you won't be confused between all of the different models, but it's it is definitely going to be interesting to see if they can go to production, but I think they can. All right, let's move on to one of my most favorite. I do not hide it, and it is the Lucid Air. And Lucid Air is going to come out next year. They're the only electric car company that have gotten very close and even beat Tesla in some of the specs. They're going to have a 517-mile range. They will start at 140K, and by start, I mean this is the first version they're going to have. The cheapest version that they're going to come out with probably in 2022 is going to go down to 80,000. But they got, first of all, I believe this is one of the most luxurious electric cars, I've ever seen. And I've been actually looking at their prototypes for the last 3 years. They just set one of the records at the quarter mile at was it 9.245, so that's kind of crazy. They have the lowest drag coefficient in the industry. I believe it's 0.21, and they're going to have, as long as they go to market, the highest charging rate at 350 kilowatts. But just like I said, it doesn't mean anything, but their overall charge per minute rate looks like it's going to be a record breaking. Now, how all of a sudden this company was able to kind of get to Tesla so close when you never heard of this company? Well, the caveat here is that their CEO is the original chief engineer of the Tesla Model S. Even though Elon kind of denies it or downplays it, essentially this guy was credited for turning the Model S prototype around and bringing it to market. So it's really no no surprise that he was able to kind of do it again in a different way, and Lucid kind of put themselves on the map, and I can't wait to see the car. They've already announced their second car, which is going to be an SUV. Obviously, that will be lower in price. So hopefully they'll start getting into the market where, most of us can at least try to afford it, because at $160,000, $170,000, it's definitely going to be one of the best electric cars on the market, but you do have to dish out some money. No, not as much as for the Lotus, though. So from one of the best electric cars that we can expect to see on the market to I think I'm just going to go and say it. This is literally one of the worst, especially for the price. And I'm talking about the Mazda MX-30. Now, it will start at $35,000, which is essentially what, off-menu Tesla Model 3 starts at, and so many other cars after they will start at that price or maybe a little bit more. But the problem with this car is it only goes 124 miles on one charge. And that's half of what most of the cars that are coming on the market are going to have. So this is a problem. And, I do understand the whole neighborhood car. Like I said, Candy is very much a neighborhood car, but it costs, 10 grand. In this case, for the same amount of money, you can have so many other choices. I just don't see how they're going to sell this car for MSRP. I don't. Unless you're a very, very, very loyal Mazda enthusiast, which again, I'm not really sure that many of those, this is going to be a tough sell if you ask me. Now, the next car was supposed to go on sale this year. They're already in Germany, and I'm talking about the Mercedes-Benz EQC. I got to drive it, not really floor it because it was in Frankfurt and during traffic time, and you know, I'm getting used to the European road signs, but love this car, extremely quiet, typical Mercedes. And they were supposed to go on sale this year because of pandemic. Well, no, actually, this wasn't even because of pandemic. This was because they just decided not to go to our market until next year. And I literally talked to the guy in charge of their electric program last night, and he told me that they're still not going to confirm for now whether or not this car is going to actually be in the United States. If it will have 240 miles of range, and it will start at surprisingly low for this car, $68,000. So we're talking about after the federal incentive, this car is at $60,000, which I think is quite impressive. Now, the other car, which kind of bypassed it in terms of the market, it's the Mercedes S-Class equivalent with the electric version, and it's the Mercedes EQS. And this is actually a footage that I shot when I had a chance to drive it and check it out in person. You will see later in the footage I will show you also camouflaged actual pre-production prototype, and I would not expect that it will look anything close, though I have to say this is probably the best concept cars I have ever seen and drove. It's absolutely beautiful. It will go at the range is going to be 350 miles. It will start way into $100,000 price range. I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to go at around 150. They have not announced the price, but you can expect this car to be one of the most luxurious electric cars competing with on the market, competing with the Lucid Air. So I am quite excited. As you can see, that was the prototype that doesn't look that similar, even with just curves, even though it's camouflage as their concept, but it should be a good looking car. Charles in the chat room says, it looks like Mazda is trying to compete with the Leaf, although even the base model of that car offers more range, much more range, right? 151 miles. And this car has kind of, you know, been around for a while. So they've figured out how to make it versus the MX-30 it won't be. So I don't quite get it, but you know, it is what it is. All right. So let's move on to the next one. This one, yet again, same, you know, this is why it's going to be hard for Mazda to compete, because look at this. This is Nissan Ariya. It will have 300 miles of range, and it will start at around $40,000. You know, like compare that to the MX-30. I think it's also a really, really good looking car. I saw the sort of pre-production, not a concept, but the pre-production version of it. In person is just as beautiful. Inside is very much Nissan, and I can see this car being sold left and right very easily, especially because Nissan does have a pretty good following of those people who bought the early Nissan Leaf, the first generation, and now, you know, buying the second generation. So Nissan does have a pretty good name. Now, with this car, don't forget, you know, by the time it's on the market, Nissan will not have, definitely not most of the $7,500 tax credit. And I should mention the same goes for the Hummer. I forgot to mention that because GM and Tesla have already lost that. All right, let's move on to Polestar. Now, this is a Volvo-owned brand, and this is their second car. The first one was a Polestar 1. That was a plug-in hybrid. This one is fully electric. I just test drove it in San Francisco a few weeks ago. It's going to have 233 miles of EPA range. It's going to start at about $60,000. And I got to say, it's a good electric car. I don't particularly agree with the price. I think it's maybe a little bit more for what it is. Obviously, it is a Volvo brand, but I got to say, everything in this car was fine, but nothing was amazing. Now, one thing that I was looking forward to for this car and all future Polestars and Volvos is the fact that this is the first car that will run the Android Automotive operating system. So this is very different from what you probably have right now, like an Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, where you just project your phone onto the screen. No, the entire car will have its own Android operating system, which obviously comes with the voice commands from Google Assist. And I wasn't impressed with that. I have to say there was quite a few commands that didn't even understand or even had in it to execute. But the biggest disappointment is that, you know, when you have an Android operating system, you are looking forward to the App Store, right? This would be the first car with the App Store. And the one that I drove had only 17 apps. And I'm not quite sure why. After all of these years of Google developing this for the automotive industry, it still has only 17 apps. But that probably was my biggest disappointment. Though, if they actually figured out how to actually get all the other apps, especially on the vertical screen, which is what your phone is, you definitely can compete with others big time. And you know, even with Tesla, that doesn't really offer an app store yet. So a bit of a disappointment there, but a good luxury, decent electric car. John in the chat room is asking, how about Mini Cooper? So Mini Cooper is on sale right now. As a matter of fact, I believe it went on sale in June or July of this year. I reviewed that car. Pretty cool car, but don't forget their range is about 110 miles of realistic range. So, you know, and they also go for about $30,000. So I'm not a big fan, but it is already in the market. So I don't consider it as a car that comes out next year because it's already here. And yes, Guy mentions that the Aria will be the first Nissan car that will get away from the CHAdeMO, essentially killing it, and will go to CCS fast charging connector, which finally we're getting to, you know, a standard here. All right, let's move on to Rivian. I mean, probably one of the most anticipated cars in so many different ways. As you know, there's going to be a truck, there's going to be an SUV. Both will have a range of over 400 miles. The truck R1T, which stands for Rivian's first truck, will start at $69,000. R1S, which stands for Rivian's first SUV, will start at $3,500 more at $72,500. Though I have heard that Rivian might cut those prices down just a little bit more. You know, it's going to be an amazing vehicle. Obviously, it's got a lot of publicity because it's got over $3 billion just in the last year that they've raised from Amazon, from Cox Automotive, from Ford. Obviously, this is not just dumb money. This is know-how from Ford, obviously, and the logistics from Amazon. And this is something that I'm proud. And you know, their CEO Arjus Karinch is a bit of kind of becoming a celebrity. He's very young. He's very charismatic, and you know, I think he navigated this whole thing. We're not Tesla, but we are also awesome thing very, very well. So I think he's part of the big appeal of this truck. Now, one of my most favorite features of this truck is what's called a tank turn, and this is available only on these cars that have 4 motors, right? 1 per each wheel. So you spin the left wheels one direction, right wheels another direction, and you can dance. You can dance, and I think this is really, really cool. I know this truck will probably create sort of its own community, and I can't wait what they're going to do with the rest. The back is going to be configurable. You'll be able to configure it into like almost anything as far as the back is concerned. They even have a portable kitchen that goes into that little tunnel that goes through the entire car. I mean, this car has a lot of amazing features. So I know this is probably top 3, top 4 most anticipated cars of the next year. All right, so I'm going to mention. We're now moving into Tesla territory. I'm going to mention the Tesla Model S Plaid mode, even though technically it will look the same as the Model S, but it's supposed to have the new battery tech that Tesla just unveiled at the Battery Day. It's supposed to have all this amazing specs that pretty much the only car that will beat Lucid specs. You know, none of them, we don't have much of the video of any of that except for the Laguna Seca run, and it will run you $140,000, which is actually not that much for this car, I would say. I don't know what it's going to do to the Roadster. They might have to kind of add some features there, and it will have over 520-mile range. I'm sure that number was just enough to beat a Lucid, which, you know, I love the competition. This This, you might like a lot of people who love Tesla really don't like Lucid because they feel like they're getting a little too close. But to me, if you love Tesla, you should definitely love Lucid because Lucid is pushing Tesla to make better cars faster, right? Capitalism. So, all right, now probably the most anticipated, but not necessarily the most sold. I think this car will be outsold. Obviously, a car of the year is a Tesla Cybertruck. They've just announced that they're going to start, not just announced, a couple of months ago, with a tri-motor, which will start at I believe $70,000, and it will come down to the single motor version to $40,000, but I don't anticipate it until 2022. It will have over 500-mile range and will be produced at the Austin factory that Tesla is building. I was lucky enough actually to meet this guy in person and ride inside and check out the Cyber Quad. And it is definitely not for everyone. This is definitely an acquired taste, but I think there will be plenty of people who are going to love this car, whether admiring it from the road or owning it. It is quite big, I have to say. Standing next to it made me feel, I'm already a short guy, but really made me feel tiny but the problem with that is not how tall I look compared to it, but it's whether or not it's going to fit into your garage or how easy it's going to fit in the parking spots. Now, Elon said that they will be making this, a little bit of a smaller version for Europe, but for the United States, they're going to keep it as is. Let's see, there's a comment. Tesla truck doesn't look like a truck. Where's the open cargo space so there is a cargo space in the back. I mean, it just has it has a cover on it, but you can unzip it really, and there will be a bed. So it's just a very weird shape. Don't get me wrong; it's very polar. I remember being at the unveiling, and I was in the press area, but we could see the entire crowd, and you can see that people were like we all thought it was a joke. We thought that Elon's just screwing with us, and this truck is going to come apart, and a real Cybertruck is going to come out of it. But no, but you gotta say, this is much like with Gucci, right? Like sometimes they make a shirt, and you go like, who's going to wear that? And then people go like, yeah, but that's Gucci, so it's got to be fashion. So we love it. So I think that's what happened. They have over 700,000 reservations. They won't have a problem selling it. I put a reservation on it right away, even though I'm not probably going to get it, but who knows, right? It's $100. So, all right. So let's move on to a couple of more because we're coming down to V's. And this one is from Volvo. This is not a Polestar. This is an actual Volvo. This is XC400 Recharge. Will have over 200 miles of range. It will start at $55,500. I just had a conversation with their PR team, and I kind of really pressed them on whether or not I'm going to be as disappointed with the Android operating system integration. It sounds like I will be, but I hope they are getting enough feedback to have Google actually get their stuff together and start porting apps and just making it a real operating system for a car. Obviously, a lot of people who love Volvo love the environment. This is kind of a perfect car for Volvo brand fans, for families and so forth. I think it will do well. I do think that there will be a lot of competition, as you probably saw, where this might just be a bit of a tough sell as well. Let's see. Okay, well, we're coming down to the last car. And this car, I was so impressed with it when I checked it out, 3 weeks ago, that I reserved their first edition. And I'm talking about the Volkswagen ID.4. This car is your regular good-looking SUV. It will have 250 miles of range. It will start at about $40,000, but once they finish up and build their factory in Chattanooga, it will actually, the starting price will drop down to $35,000. Now, by the way, I should mention this for both Lucid and ID.4, this car, is that it will come with 3 years of unlimited fast charging with Electrify America. That would push me to make a reservation for this car. Now, their first edition is already sold out. It has so many really cool accents. design accents that I really thought that at least I should have a reservation in case if I want to actually move forward with it. Like I said, I spent some time with it, and I think we became friends. You know, I'm hoping maybe I'll get a discount, since I feel like I made also a friend in the Volkswagen family, though I have a feeling he kind of abandoned me for much cooler friends. So we both have accents though, so I don't know. Maybe I'll get something out of it. But ID4 is definitely on the list of cars that I would like to buy next year. And I should mention that the first edition is $44,000. That's before the tax incentives and all of that other state and local incentives. So essentially, this car is going to be, you know, early 30s, low 30s. So guys, I mean, I didn't spend that much time on any of these cars, right? And I was easily able to talk to you for about half an hour at this point, a little bit more. And gee, you know, I have no doubt that Tesla will still dominate the market and still be the sort of the flagship brand of electric cars. But boy, finally, all these other, you know, manufacturers, whether they're brand new like Lucid and Rivian, or the legacy manufacturers like Mercedes and Volkswagen, they're all finally, you know, were dragged into this and to make these really good electric cars. There are obviously pros and cons to, you know, buying a Tesla versus buying a non-Tesla, buying a more expensive versus buying less expensive. And I think that's kind of very custom to everybody. Let's see. So some people already prioritizing their purchases. Audi sedan, Porsche Taycan. Well, Porsche Taycan is already on the market, so that's why it's not in my presentation, and neither is Model 3. To be honest with you, I think that Volkswagen ID4 and Mustang Mach-E will be the cars to beat as far as how popular they're going to be. I know Mustang Mach-E already has its own online community, and it's really awesome. And so is Rivian. I think that obviously helps. I mean, that's what kind of projected sort of Tesla into what they are now, or just the community, right? It will be interesting to see how they navigate the dealership model, because obviously dealerships don't make as much money, or if any, on maintenance of these electric cars. Now, I just had the CEO of Volkswagen Group of America on my show, and I did ask him the tough question, and his answer was very sort of straightforward. He basically said, listen, if the dealerships don't want to sell these cars, they're going to be left behind. We're making this car, so they can either work with us and figure out how to make money, which I'm assuming selling them for MSRP, or they can basically, you know, gamble and try to stay in business as much as they can, maintaining and doing maintenance on the gas cars. But at the same time, he acknowledged that they will be continuing selling gas cars for a while, and even when they stop, like here in California, it looks like 2035 is when it's going to be illegal to sell gas cars. Even after that, you know, those cars that are still on the road will require maintenance more than ever, right? Used cars obviously require more of that. So it's definitely a year I've been waiting for a long time. My YouTube channel was originally called Everything Tesla, because at that time it was really Tesla and then the Leaf, right? And but I renamed it to E4 Electric a few years ago. Well, I shouldn't say a few years ago, it was what, 3 years ago, because I thought that, you know, very, very soon we're going to have all these amazing electric cars, as all of these brands are coming out as startups or gonna convert the legacy manufacturers. And, you know, I've been waiting for this for a while. I should also mention there are a few cars that are going to be made for Europe only that are amazing, and even more cars that are being made in China that are amazing cars that are either going to stay in China, and if they're going to expand, it's probably only going to be expanded to Europe at first. For example, Xpeng Motors, very Chinese company that they don't really never wanted to sell cars outside of China, though they are publicly traded company here. They just won IPO. They just started exporting their G3 all-electric SUV to Norway to kind of fill out the market and see how they do. But those are really, really good cars. So I'm definitely looking forward to some of the Chinese brands actually coming to Europe, North America, and so forth, because there's some really good brands over there. So let me know if you have any other questions. I hope I kind of answered all of them. And let me know in the comments, in the chat, which one is your favorite. Doesn't mean you're going to buy it. Which one is your favorite? If you won a lottery tomorrow, which car would you buy? I'm kind of quite curious to see which one. I don't hide my enthusiasm for Lucid. So if I win a lottery tomorrow, that would be my car of choice. I doubt I will win a lottery, mainly because I don't buy lottery tickets. I've heard that's a requirement, but nevertheless. All right, Bradley says a Rivian R1T, I think you meant. That's the Rivian truck. Yes, Lucid will have V2G. I have to say I'm not a big fan of that technology, because I just don't see how it's going to be useful once we're converted to, or are converting into, solar panels and home battery storage systems. I think it will be short-lived technology, but it's good when you need to charge another car, right? One car can charge another car because of that. Or if you're, camping and you need to power up your, punk rock concert out and about in the middle of the woods, that would work. But I don't see Lucid being needed in either one of those cases. All right, Patrick agrees with me. Charles says Aria, a beautiful car. I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with Aria, especially because it's Nissan. So I cannot wait to see what people choose, how Tesla responds to this, because the competition will start, getting them, kind of squeezing them out of the market. And then I want to see what the reaction back to all of the other manufacturers will be. We know that Toyota and Honda are way behind. Let's see if they catch up. So I am very excited to see what's going to happen, and to have so many choices of actually good looking and electric cars with a decent range. I personally don't require more than 200 miles of range. I know some people travel a little bit more, but now we have Electrify America that's building out a lot of stations. I'm actually doing a video shoot with them later today. That's where I'm going next. And I know that they're fastest growing fast charging network. And EVgo, EVgo has made a lot of advances. And I don't know if you guys even know that Teslas can charge at EVgo stations as well. Patrick says, for my budget, considering Model Y, Volkswagen ID4, and Mach-E before going with Mach-E. I think Mach-E is a great looking car. If you're not specifically looking for like amazing power, but you want a great user interface, you will not be disappointed. And I think at that price, you just can't lose there. So I'm very excited about all of this. I can't wait to see how the market reacts. I know a few of these that I mentioned may not make it in production, next year. So they will probably be early 2022. Like I said, Jaguar and the Mercedes. So we'll see what happens with them. But most of these are going to make it. Kurt in the chat room says F-150 all electric. That's not due until 2022. I know you think that because they originally said they're planning the next year, but honestly, they're not ready. I just visited GM in March. They're not ready. I'm surprised that they're getting Hummer this early, and they also just unveiled the Lyric, which is a Cadillac's brand. I think they have their hands full with that. Their partnership with LG Chem is just starting, right? This is where they kind of have the same thing as Tesla has with Panasonic. So there's a lot to do there, okay? And now they have their hands full with Nikola. But anyway, listen, I'm excited. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. This is fun. Hopefully next year we can do it in person. But this way, at least I can show you guys all these amazing cars, and hopefully I will see you in one of them when we do meet. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. I will see you back on my channel, and don't forget to check out other sessions at Drive Electric Week. I'll see you guys next time, and remember to stay charged.
Thanks, Alex. I appreciate it. And finish us right up on time. Obviously there's a lot of things that are going to be happening in the space. And again, encourage you that we have more sessions that are coming up tomorrow and over the weekend. If you go to Drive Electric Week on the web.org, you can actually type in your zip code, and it'll tell you not only the national events, the list of national events, but also if there's any local events. There are some chapters of the Electric Auto Association who are doing in-person events, or a combination of in-person and online events. So there may be something going on right around the corner from you or within a short drive. So I'd encourage you to check out and see what's available. And you see in the chat, Alex posted both his YouTube and his TikTok. So if you have a young person in your house and they're a TikTok fan, just sneak that link in there so they can start getting them interested in EVs too. Well, like, and I mentioned that this will be this is being recorded, so we will be posting that soon for folks to take a look at it and get a chance to hear all the models that Alex talked about. So thanks for joining us for this webinar, and I guess we're going to wrap things up. So thanks a lot for attending.